This October marks 40 years since Washington's first murder conviction without a body. And as I've come to discover, it's a case that still haunts the islands today. It started for me the way all the best ghost stories do, here at the campfire. When I was younger, I thought it was just some twisted tale my grandparents made up to scare me. But as I got older, I discovered the story was indeed true, at least some of it. The problem is no one can say which part. Here we are 40 years later, and a body has never been found.
I think a lot of it is rumors that have just gone around this island over and over again.
What was once burned into headlines now lives in a whisper.
If anyone could get away with it, Ruth could do it.
Well, they couldn't find his body because it was ground up and put in a crab pot, they say.
Infidelity, gruesome allegations, a blockbuster murder trial, and in the end, a striking conviction, said to be Washington State's first without human remains.
She insisted that she smelled something horrible coming from that burn barrel.
Decades on, time has done little to cool the embers. Even the locals have a hard time distinguishing fact and fiction.
To this day, I've never decided whether I really honestly think she killed him.
It's believed that any hard evidence in this stomach-turning case has washed away with the tide, allowing for rumors to skip like rocks across the straits in the years since Rolf Neslund's now infamous disappearance. But I'm determined to get as close to the truth as we can. And to do that, we've got to leave the mainland and embark for Lopez Island.
I mean, you drive off the ferry, there's big trees, there's beautiful bays, there's open fields with sheep.
Home to more livestock than people, where blacktops are empty and the word busy simply does not exist.
Rocky headlands and lovely pebbly beaches. It really is a friendly place.
Oh, but news really used to travel fast.
Take it from Angie, the woman who's done just about every odd job here on the island.
The thing that I noticed the most is how amazed everyone that felt that this could happen here.
It would be hard to admit to anything that gruesome, I'm sure. Ugh.
Chat with Ronnie, whose parents ran the ferry landing for a time.
It's hard to imagine it ever could have happened on Lopez because it's such a small, close-knit community, not someplace where somebody would ever get murdered. We don't lock our doors. I still don't have a key to my house.
A ceiling tile from their house with the specks of blood.
When historian Amy relocated to the Friendly Isle and got wind of what happened, she found it hard to believe.
This murder that became national news happened here. It's kind of just like a, it's like an exciting murder mystery. Like, it is kind of sensationalized.
People saying that she killed him.
But for people who knew them, it has a very different feel. People, like I said, will still stand up for Ruth and say that she did not do it.
Well, we always knew that the Neslunds drank a whole lot, and they fought a lot.
Drink, and they would fight, and things would just go off the rails.
There's enough people that witnessed both she and Ralph having knockdown, blowout, drunken brawls in public.
And then one day at the hardware store, the rumors walked right through the door.
She came into Sunset Builders when I was working there, and her bottom lip, I'm not exaggerating at all, it was that thick. When he said Rolf hit her with a 2x4.
On an island this small, secrets don't stay anchored for long. It's the early 1980s when Ruth's name first shows up in the paper. And Rolf, well, he's nowhere to be found.
And I think nobody really thought too much of it for a while because obviously Rolf did travel for work quite a bit. Rolf was a very well-respected sea captain who would pilot these big ships into Elliott Bay. And then at some point his family members had not heard from him in quite some time, and so they actually called the police.
Where's Rolf? And she said, he's in Seattle with his girlfriend. And she said, but he doesn't have any money because I'm putting it all in my account.
We're talking cashier's checks worth thousands.
After Rolf's disappearance, Ruth opened up a bed and breakfast at the house.
Before long, the Alec Bay Inn became ground zero for the missing persons investigation.
They absolutely physically tore the house apart.
And much of what they seized ended up in here.
This is Rolf's sea chest. There are a couple circles on the sides that supposedly were where the investigators found specks of blood. With all of this interesting stuff inside.
Bloody tissues, squares of shag carpet, even ceiling tiles.
This particular item creeps me out the most. Apparently is Ruth's voodoo doll, which is very creepy. These are Rolf's cufflinks, and supposedly he never left home without them. And that was one piece of circumstantial evidence, was that these were found at the house.
Did Rolf flee to his home country of Norway? Yeah, not even Ruth's family bought that. Her nephew told police during a drunken call she'd waste Rolf. But did she?
Potential tools of disposal.
Tools of disposal.
Tools of disposal.
They assumed were used to dismember Rolf.
This is pretty intense.
It is pretty intense.
What really happened? That depends on which theory you believe.
One night she had a gun and she shot Rolf. And then she called her brother, who came over and helped her dispose of the body. And supposedly they cut him up in the bathtub, put him in the burn barrel, burned the body, and then threw the bones out into the bay. So this is the wheelbarrow. It was found on the property, and so it's assumed that they transported the parts of Rolf's body.
A darker version emerged, one that's hard to stomach, and it involves a meat grinder.
Because Ruth borrowed a meat grinder from somebody apparently shortly after, and there were jokes about like if you were eating sausage or whatever, that you might be like eating a little bit of Rolf.
Tall tales were taken to the record in 1985.
So this is Ruth here.
In the State v. Neslund, a high-profile trial the likes of which the San Juan Islands had never seen.
There was like a surprise witness at the end who was Ruth's friend.
Just as they were ready to close the case, she finally came forward and said, Ruth told me that they killed him in the bathtub and cut him into little pieces and grounded him up and stuck the pieces in the crab pots so that nobody was ever going to find any evidence.
Even without a confession, the jury was convinced. Ruth was found guilty of premeditated murder, sentenced to life behind bars.
They let her out on good behavior, and then she messed up again and got sent back to jail because she continued to drink. And
she hit a biker and almost killed them. And right to jail she went. She was 73, I believe.
It is sad that she died in jail, but, you know, she had a second chance and she kind of blew it.
The same liquid force that fueled that domestic chaos ultimately sealed Ruth's fate.
I don't think she could have kept her mouth shut forever. She would probably tell me. One day, Ruth is going to tell me. And she never did.